Two life-size statues have been unearthed in a cemetery near Pompeii, the ancient Roman city destroyed by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD. Experts believe the figures represent a couple once buried at the site. The intricate carvings and accompanying grave goods offer valuable insights not only into their identities, but also into the sophisticated funerary customs of ancient Rome. The statues were discovered on the wall of a tomb in the necropolis near Porta Sarno, one of the gates leading into Pompeii. Based on stylistic details, they likely date back to the late Republican period of Rome, sometime between the 2nd and 1st centuries BC. Carved separately on two blocks of volcanic tuff, the figures nonetheless form a perfectly cohesive composition, giving the impression of a single unified sculpture. Depicted frontally and in high relief, the young, well-to-do couple proudly display their status through the visual language of wealth and dignity. The craftsmanship is extraordinary. You can see the fine attention to detail in their hands, fingers, and even fingernails. The sculptor also captured the delicate folds of their garments and the intricate design of their jewelry, rings, bracelets, and a necklace. The husband Stella stands at about 2 meters tall, with his figure measuring 175 centimeters. He is depicted wearing a toga that reaches mid-shin, revealing his calzei patrizi, the distinctive boots worn by upper-class Roman men. A ring adorns the finger of his left hand. The bride's relief is especially striking, featuring a number of symbolic details. Her stela is 186 centimeters tall, and her figure measures 177 centimeters. She is shown veiled, wrapped in a large cloak over a long tunic. The tunic falls just below the cloak, partially covering her shoes. Her attire is richly complemented by jewelry. On her left hand, raised and clasped near her right shoulder, she wears 2 bracelets and 2 rings, one on the ring finger, possibly a wedding band, and another on the little finger. Her earrings are shaped like amphorae, a design echoed in the pendants on her necklace. This amphora motif gives her adornments an archaic feel. Yet the focal point of the necklace is a lunula, a crescent-shaped charm suspended at the center. The lunula was a protective amulet worn by women from birth until marriage. It wasn't just a symbol of femininity, it was also believed to guard against evil and misfortune. Its meaning was also tied to the cycles of the moon, the fertility of the earth, and the promise of rebirth. Beyond her clothing and jewelry, the woman is shown with attributes that suggest a special religious status. In her right hand, she holds a branch of laurel leaves with traces of green paint still visible. In Roman rituals, laurel or sometimes olive branches were used by priests and priestesses to purify spaces, dispersing the smoke of incense or aromatic herbs during sacred ceremonies. In her left hand, she holds an object that's open to interpretation. It might be a scroll case containing a marriage contract, or perhaps a vessel used to hold or dispense incense during religious rites. In Roman society, women were typically confined to domestic roles, fulfilling the duties of a traditional matron. However, becoming a priestess was one of the few paths that allowed women to step into the public sphere with real influence. Priestesses held a respected, even powerful position, comparable in status to their male counterparts. I previously mentioned the lunula, the crescent-shaped amulet worn by girls before marriage. Interestingly, its presence on the necklace of this already married woman may identify her as a priestess of the goddess Ceres. In Roman religion, Ceres, goddess of agriculture and fertility, was symbolically linked to the moon, whose phases were thought to correspond with the cycles of planting, growth, and harvest. Although many scholars believe the reliefs depict a married couple, Gabriel Zuchtriegel, director of the archaeological park, cautions against jumping to conclusions. No inscriptions have been found to confirm their identities. It's also possible that the statues may represent a mother and her son. The tomb itself would have been a rectangular structure built using opus incertum, a Roman construction technique of irregular stones set in cement, then covered in painted plaster. It measured 81 centimeters in width, stretched about 4 meters in length, and stood 1.6 meters high. However, by the 1st century AD, only about 60 centimeters of it would have been visible above ground. The rest lay buried beneath the earth. Unfortunately, the tomb is only partially preserved today. Part of the structure collapsed and was later buried under layers of pumice and ash from the eruption. On its west-facing facade, the tomb originally featured 4 niches designed for cremation burials. 2 central niches held the sculptural reliefs, while the outer niches were likely reserved for other burials. The sculptures were surmounted by a richly decorated pediment adorned with scrolls and flowers painted in red. The flowers that have 6 compound petals can be identified as wild chrysanthemum. A large fragment of the pediment was discovered in front of the feet of the male figure within the pumice stone deposits. In front of the tomb's facade, archaeologists found a wealth of ceramic fragments, mostly from thin-walled vessels and ointment jars, indicating frequent visits to the site. Among these offerings was a large piece of a bronze mirror. In Roman funerary tradition, such vessels and jars were used to pour perfumed oil over the cremated bones, a final, fragrant farewell before sealing the urn. The discovery of a broken glass ointment jar offers clear evidence of libation rites performed at the tomb. These rituals could have taken place during the cremation itself, when the body was placed on the pyre, or afterward, during the urn's burial. Libations might also be offered in later visits, keeping the memory of the dead alive through sacred ritual. The broken mirror is an intriguing find. In ancient Rome, mirrors carried multiple layers of meaning. They were believed to possess magical properties, serving as portals between the worlds of the living and the dead. Breaking a mirror was seen as a bad omen, symbolizing the severing of a soul's connection. Women also used mirrors for prophesying, gazing into their polished surfaces to foresee the future. Archaeologists also uncovered a coin, its reverse side bearing the image of Neptune, god of the sea, holding a trident. The placement of a coin in a tomb was a common funerary practice. According to Roman and Greek tradition, such a coin, often called Charon's obol, was the fare for the ferrymen who transported souls across the river Styx into the afterlife. Beneath the sediment where the coin was found, a flat tile was propped against the tomb wall, sealing the burial space. Inside, resting atop the layer containing cremated remains, was a perfectly preserved thin-walled vessel. Its deliberate placement suggests it played a ritual role, perhaps used to pour wine over the bones in a final act of consecration. At the base of the tomb, a significant amount of burnt human bones was recovered. The bones were uniformly white, indicating that cremation had occurred at temperatures above 650 degrees Celsius. Analysis of the fragments, many of which were identifiable, confirmed that they belonged to a mature female. The 2 figures have since been transferred to the Palestra Grande, the Grand Gymnasium of Pompeii, during the reign of Augustus. Visitors will have the opportunity to watch conservators at work as they clean and preserve these extraordinary sculptures. Like and subscribe. See you next time.